So I decided to stand it up this way. And the reason is I felt like I wanted to see the drama. Some of the rock plantings you do, they're far away views. You can do forests on them. They might look like they're miles away or fairly close up. I call this a vignette planting. And so it'll be a stone that's maybe really close, maybe part of a mountain, but it's real contained. Also, as you can see, most art, bonsai especially, is built on a sense of triangle. And this is almost a perfect triangle. So I'll need to break that up to satisfy a little chaos. I love living in a world of chaos, so I'm gonna kind of do that. There are tie downs that were installed into this rock. I picked this way because I like the angle and everything, but I created a drain hole over right off the side. And so this rock will drain real easily. I usually plant either in a high spot and show the really character part of the rock. This will show it, but I need the drainage. So I'm gonna put some sort of a large size, just regular bonsai soil in the very bottom, and then plant with my muck. And the muck plantings on rocks are fantastic. They're a combination of long fiber sphagnum moss, which I like either the Chilean or the New Zealand varieties, a Michigan peat moss, which is a reed peat moss, and a clay. And since I've gone to really using the fines out of my akadama, so then I sort of don't worry about the cost of a bag of akadama when it's got a lot of dust in it. So I'm using that. Now you can use potter's clay. Powdered potter's clay works really well with this solution. But I've got a stone. I want to break up the line of this triangle. I want to have something that fits in there. The other way this could have gone, there was more of an overlap where this lip came out. And that would be hard to water, not from hand watering, but we count on a lot of rain here. We get it. And so you don't want to have one of the people that helps us with our watering bypass this because they think everything's been watered because we had 3 inches of rain. So this has to be hand watered, but there's drainage and the rain can get into it also. The plant I'm going to use is a Percummins Nana juniper, and they're very strong here in the Atlanta area. This is a good time to work on them because we can really, we've got enough heat left that we can prune them, we can root work them, and they still have time to recover. I love working on them for 2 reasons. I can do it this time of year and with some of the other things I can't do. And the roots are great, but they really come back and they have a really compact growth habit for the rest of the year. So they look really good for the rest of the year and into next year. But it's going to be a tight growth. Being on the rock, it will continue to be tight. It's not going to ever give it that loose look. The tree I've picked was a gift from a friend that was getting out of bonsai. He got out by dying. He basically, this was a tree that helped his wife kind of sell the collection, and it was one nobody wanted because it was mostly dead. And basically all I did was prune out, found the live line, and then went from there. This is a year later from finding the live line, exposing everything and cleaning up the dead wood. So what I've done so far is I've made this rock, I've put the wires in, I built a foot to it so that it would be steady and I wouldn't knock it over, hopefully, during this time. I'm going to go ahead and pull the plant and show you. If you've got a really nice rock like this and it's got a lot of character, you want a very boring plant so the rock shows off. So this is going to be the tree I'm putting on it. You can see it's got a lot of dead wood, live veins coming, and that tree, you can see the raffia up at the top. All these branches were over here. It was what I call a Napoleon style. So it looked like Napoleon's hat. But this has also been pruned to where the roots can handle the stone. We call it the plate method. It looks like a nice plate. We've cut most roots off. We've gone down to the bottom of the root system so that it just spreads out. You can't go any lower than this without getting into some issues, but this is what we'll start with. Every time this is potted, if it's in a bonsai pot, we go back to almost this core to do it. But we're going to plant this, you know, there's so many ways that it could go. Any questions yet? Before I get my hands muddy.
If you have questions, just press the space bar to go ahead and speak up.
I also want to thank there 3 ladies that helped me a lot with this, and Kathleen and Dodie and Renee. I really appreciate it. And I got a free hat out of the deal. Kind of nice. Had to color coordinate. Normally I have dark black hair, but I did the beard to match the hat to match the t-shirt. So.
Isn't it number 4?
This is just a regular, little bit, I call this the mid-grade, and it's just a combination of pumice, akadama, and lava. And I'm just putting enough in to cover the screen and keep the muck safe. It's almost like a drain. This is gonna have it where it drains out very nicely. I usually count the pieces because I like odd numbers. So I don't know if you can catch me counting, but I did, promise. So this is the muck, and I'm going to go ahead and prepare.
Rodney, would it be helpful to you to lower it a little bit, lower the table, or is that too hard?
No.
If it's not, leave it alone. It's fine.
Why would it help me?
Well, I don't know, because you were standing.
Oh, I'm going to stand anyway. So
Okay.
I'm going to back up a little bit. This is a quick set concrete, and that one came from Lowe's. That's how I attached both the wires inside the rock and this base, and it's a hydraulic concrete. Sets up very, very fast.
Rodney, somebody asked if they could see inside the rock. Would it be possible to use the phone and show that?
Can they hold the muck for me?
It's 30 seconds too short. Where's his phone? Where's his phone? Oh. Sorry.
That's okay. That's what we're here for.
The lighting is great.
Can you see it?
Yeah, hold it still. Go move slower.
So you can see I'm going to cut in front, but you can see the wire being held on both sides. The stone, you know, it's the same, of course, look on both sides.
So move a little slower, Rodney.
Okay. So I've got the soil in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to quickly show you just how the wires are put together. And
back to your computer.
So you've got a piece of wire. I like a long wire, so I have plenty of ways to tie back and forth. This is going to be pretty easy, but I do 2 fingers and twist 3 times. So you do the same twist that you normally.
You're kind of behind the rock. There you go. Good.
And so, is this better?
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it at a 90 degrees. And so when you're placing these on the stone, you want the outside to be this where the twist is. That gives you another 1.5 inches of room to tie over. So it makes it very steady.
It looks like a set of rabbit ears for my television.
Excuse me?
It looks like you made a set of rabbit ears for the old televisions.
Well, that goes back, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, well, usually I leave these out, and yesterday we did it because we had a lightning storm, so wanted to make sure the rock was grounded.
Somebody asked how long it takes for the concrete to set.
It's a good question. It's engineered for, it was actually engineered to fix a tunnel in Boston. And so it'll go in, it's hydraulic, but it'll go in, you can push it in, you can feel it getting warm, and it will expand as it go in, plus it's waterproof. If you use cold water, it takes about 5 minutes. If you use hot water, it sets up within seconds. So if somebody's doing a workshop and they're a pain, then they get warm water. That's why you get paid first. So I'm really, what I'm doing is creating sort of the place I think I want it. I can pull these out if I've made a mistake, either take some out or add a little bit more. I kind of want an angle in this. But you see, it's real, I don't know, if you had rabbit ears, you probably played with mud pies also. But that's the consistency. Pretty much a brownie mix. Now I'm going to take a little bit of the muck and go ahead and make sure the bottom of the soil ball also has enough muck on it that I don't create an air space. So I'm just kind of making sure all those little crevices, all those indentions are nicely covered. This should be sticky enough that you could throw it up against a wall or sliding glass door and it stick. When you're at home, you don't want to do that. You always do that at other people's houses. Gets you in trouble. So I've created a little spot. I'm going to bond them together. And what I want to see is really, I really want the movement of the stone, the way it's pushing itself is pointing this direction. I like seeing sort of the drama of things. I also just want to get carried away just a little bit. So I want to show the force. So, just in case I touch my carefully prepared dead wood.
I wish I could win that as a door prize.
You have to come to Atlanta.
I'll second.
That is beautiful.
So I'm going to change it just a little bit, but that's kind of just the part. If you notice, I've overhung the rock a little bit, and we'll correct that a little later on. The top of the ball of the juniper also had just a little bit of moss on it, which is kind of nice. Gives it a little bit better of a look. I'm wanting, if you can see this edge in here, this is pointing to a piece that's protruding. I want to see that pointing more something like that. So I'm going to change it that way.
We've had a couple comments. A person from Fresno mentioned that how dry it is there, that they don't seem to use muck very much, because I didn't think a juniper would want to be in such a wet medium.
Well, you know, that's a very good question. One of the reasons that we use muck is because of the stone. If you know, we still get warm, we still don't have. Last year we had 91 days of July, very little rain, really hot, and so this planting will dry out. With the rock will get probably 150, 160 degrees when the sunlight's on it during the middle of the day. So it does dry out. The mixture, the clay, the peat moss, the reed peat moss, and the long fiber sphagnum moss actually breathes quite nicely. So the air is going through, that's the main thing. The roots want to stay moist. This particular juniper, we're trying to keep it on the acid side. I want to keep it more like 6.5, something like that. So the soil mix helps with that. Our water here in Atlanta is anywhere from 8 to 10.
Oh.
pH wise. So I'm going to adjust these. This was wired to kind of get it in shape. I will adjust them afterwards if we have time. I'm not going to really spend the time doing that. So got this wire. I'm going to kind of come in here and place it with this guy. Now, I'm just really making sure I can get the wires together, because I'm going to do this really after hours here. Let me make sure anytime that a question's asked, I really want to make sure I've answered the question. Did I answer the question about the soil mix?
David, feel free to chip in. I never thought about the rock heating up with the heat, which makes sense.
Bonsai pots get pretty hot, and there's a lot of people that believe a lot happens with the heat of the pot. So, I mean, I don't like them, but some people like using white pots. A lot of the trees that are out of zone here, mountain trees and stuff in the Atlanta area, we put in white pots or surround the pot with styrofoam or a white towel or something during the heat of the summer, and that reflects the light. But I'm not going to do it with this. I'm pretty happy with it. I've got a little hole there, and you see this line kind of coming through there. I really don't like the way that looks. I like kind of with these are going to move up a little bit. I like the arrangement, but I always want to see the tree kind of growing back into. The wind, of course, is coming from this direction, coming this way, but the tree's trying to recover. Also want to see trees that when you get towards the bottom of the tree with a cascade, they need to fan out a little bit. They're trying for the sunlight. So you'll have apex, 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 and apex going down this tree as it fights to get back into the light.
Rodney, when you, prior to styling the tree or during the styling of the tree, at some point you made some decisions about what areas you were going to make gin and shari, and how you were going to have, can you talk a little bit about the process of how you decided where you were going to leave live wood and where you were going to remove?
Well, normally that's something you have to think about and do. And so if under a normal situation, what I'm looking at is with a branch. This branch corresponds to a live vein or tissue that goes down to the root system, and you can actually follow it. It'll be pumped up. You can see it going down all the way. It might split, but it could wrap around the tree, but you can see it. So you know that this branch needs that live vein going into the root system. So this one has its own live vein that comes and wraps this way. This part of the tree up in here has another one that goes down. And so if you were taking this branch off or this branch, you know the corresponding live veins going down in the root system are going to die. so that's where you can make those gens and charies without affecting the tree because it's been compartmentalized. And so with this one was a little different because the tree had already done that. And so I was just able to come in and expose what was already dead. I took the bark off, exposed that, and then got one of those little pressure washers for dry cleaning, washed all the bark off, took all the soft dead wood down into the harder core. And this part's a really nice part. And then that's what I colored with the lime sulfur. So this tree was sort of self-styling in a sense. And what I tell my students, the only real rule I have in bonsai is to not mess your tree up. And so this one, you're just working with what the tree gave you. Again, I'm going to adjust. I can see from the screen, some of this is not right with the way I want to see it. I probably will come in and push this side down, which will kind of change it more like that. And I like that better. Does everybody agree with me?
I think it looks wonderful. I have a couple of questions from
Okay.
folks. And guys, feel free to unmute yourself to ask them if you wish. A request was if you can slowly turn the whole thing around. Can you rotate it so they could see all the way around the rock?
Oh,
The stone.
not me, but the
Not
stone.
you. Yeah, you just did it.
Okay, I'm going to change something. I'm going to actually increase the angle. But
Oh, gosh, that's pretty. That looks great.
you know, a lot of times with some of these stone plantings, you do it with a certain front in mind. But where I'm going to make all my money in bonsai is a T-shirt. The front says every branch can be a gen, and the back says future front. But you see, just seeing the glimpse of it.
That's cool.
The concrete, I took a Sharpie, several Sharpies, different colors, and just made the type of the sort of the patina, the shape of the rock go down into and cover that one layer of concrete.
So that was my question. Your base you made out of concrete, is that like, looks like
Just like
1 inch?
concrete, yes. I was able to have, I've dropped one of these rocks one time. It made quite an impact. But you use some wooden chocks. And with that, I don't want to show it on camera. So I went ahead and I would leave a couple in and I would fill in the chalks with this concrete. Again, it goes in, sets up fast, and it swells. So it's a really strong base. And so you can kind of carve it. You know, I kind of made it look, to me, like some of the stone itself. Now, when this gets displayed, I'll either put it in a water table or I'll put it in a suibon, but I'll bring whatever it is up on this a little bit. So then you've got more of the drama of the rock in place.
You are a mind reader. That was a question that somebody had, what you were going to set it on.
Right. You know, water tables are fantastic. They bring the water up into the stone, and that helps two ways. Of course, it helps with just the humidity that comes up. We don't need a lot more humidity in Atlanta, but it still helps with the plant. It also will bring up enough moisture where moss will grow up and down the rock. You see a little bit of lichen here. So that really helps tell the scene.
You mentioned moss growing on the rock. Do you want that? Or just a little of it, a lot of it?
You don't want too much. I want to see the rock without covering it up. And I want the rock to be dominant, so I don't want a green blob here. But what is the moss? you don't know. It could be little grasses coming down. When I moss this part, I'm going to actually make the moss look like it's different plants. So we're not planting the moss to make it look like it's moss. We're just using it as a green ground cover. It could be any number of things. But you know, it's like it's really a good thing, but it's almost too much of a good thing. This rock is really pretty, and so I kind of want to show that.
So Rodney, is the muck that you're using kind of a combination of fines from Akadama and some sphagnum moss that's been sifted, or I guess I'm wondering what the components are and how you figure it's the right combination?
The long fiber sphagnum moss is just pulled and separated so that they're individual pieces. And the sphagnum, excuse me, the Michigan peat is already almost a brown, dusty stuff. It's not like Canadian peat. And the clay is, you know, fine particle. So I've screened it, but I've screened it just to get it away from the good stuff I'm using for the bonsai.
We have a raised hand from Nobuko. Would you like to ask your question? I can unmute you.
I want to make sure that I pull this up so when the water table is there, it won't stay down in the water. So that's some of the adjustment I'll make. I'm also gonna, this is very close to what I'm gonna do. I'll tie it in and finish the muck on the outside later on, but I want to show you one thing I don't like is this line here, and we'll break that up.
What is it that you don't like about the line? Is it too perfect or something, or?
Well, John Naka had a statement. It took me years to figure out what he was saying. And you know, you don't want a place in your tree a monkey can sit. And basically what he was saying with that is a level line attracts the eye. So when I get this moss and it looks good, when I look at this tree, I don't want my eye to go to here. I want it to go in and kind of climb the tree. So I don't like these areas where there's a straight line.
So what do you do about it?
Am I gonna have to pay you for those good questions? So this is where the muck is incredible. I'm going to come in and I'm just applying some of the muck to the rock. I'm gonna go ahead and do just some of the edges. I'll bring my fingers in here and totally get this mucked in. Don't need to do it now, but I'll do it for tonight. So I'm doing the outside edges, doing this part. This is all the parts that you can see. Unless somebody asks me to put my camera in there again.
Yep, we're gonna ask that when you're done.
Well,
but you have to go in.
So, you know, with that, I can break up that line. And I might, to get it to stay,
That's really, I like that. Do you like that?
I'll make a little hat pin sometimes and just pin that in. I'll end up combing some of this out and adding just a little of this nice moss up in it. Now, one of the things with rock plantings, and if you're using muck, what you kind of want to do is make sure the muck stays there. It will wash off in a heavy rain. So that's where the moss becomes really crucial.
Will you put moss all over the muck inside the rock?
I will, and the reason I'm going to do it is the fact that you see how dark it is inside there. The moss I'm going to use is what we call silver bry. Here is a short pile, full sun moss that turns a little bit of a silver color when it's a little bit dry. This, we've had so much rain, this is real green. See, this will fit very nicely down in there, but it brightens the area up. So you'll see it back into the back.
Rodney, when you put moss in a rock planting like this, do you use more than one type of moss, or you know, to have some areas that you might be able to, if it's in a darker area, have a lighter moss, or
Right. Well, I am going to have to pay you for these questions. You're trying to, again, you're not creating moss. These are all little plants that are growing in there. So it really gives more drama and everything if you use different color mosses. And I'll even use a little bit of a lichen maybe to highlight it a little whiter. It won't live back into this back area, but this other moss will live. Sometimes I'll add ferns and stuff. You'll see on some of the other shots of the rock plantings, you can use multiple plants. Well, you can do the same thing with the moss. Some of the mosses that we use have a little bit of a feathery look, and so they might look like a fern when you get to it. But that's sort of the way this is going to look. I'm going to fill this back area in. I'm going to tie it down and moss the very back of the stone. I'm going to go back around you and see what it all looks like. So the only thing I'll probably start doing is raising just the branches just a little bit. This is the angle. I didn't know exactly how it was going to come out. This branch here is very, very important. It kind of shows you where it's growing back into the piece. Plants always try to recover, so you got to make it look kind of like they're in that process. So this is the cool part of this. As you can see, I've broken up the edge of the rock here. I've broken this edge up where it gives it a little bit of mystery. This side here is helping with this. I'm going to come in and probably chip this part out on the stone, so this you can see that contrast of the negative space and the powerful piece. But as the wind comes over this stone, you can see kind of it's working with the top of this. That's very nice. Again, series of apexes. It's all got to tell the same story. So I'm going to say, you know, however this looks, the wind's coming from this direction. That's why the tree's been able to grow and protect it.
Wonderful. Could you use your phone to, after you've spin it around, then show the insides a little bit closer?
Well, the inside's just a hole, but
well, not the insides, but the edge, the front of it.
Is that working?
You need to reverse your camera.
That would help.
Yeah. There we go. And then you could probably go back a little further. And that way we can get an idea of the edge, front edge of it. So, I don't know, are you holding it upside down?
Picky.
Well, I'm confused. There we go. That makes more sense. It's so cool. And then out along the front part. Yeah.
So you can see what I did with the concrete.
That really looks good.
Yeah, that's we do that with the Gen 2. We'll come in and do the white lime sulfur, then put India ink in it and paint some of it with India ink to show more depressions. Then go inside the India ink one and with a Sharpie draw little cracks and stuff. It really surprises and confuses, and the human mind's easy to trick.
Yeah.
So even from this angle, I kind of like the
A little slower.
out.
You might hold the phone up a little higher. Yeah.
Look at the fissure coming down through here. There's a hole that goes through at this point. So you can almost have sunlight going through at a certain time of the day. See the dead wood coming and the live wood wrapping around. It's very, very nice. So I'm going to turn it, and then as you see, can you see that part?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So as you can see, the ball of the tree goes all the way to the back of the pot. By pushing it down, I've squished some of the muck up around it, and I'll make sure that there's no holes in there. So there's going to be light coming through from about this angle here.
Okay. There we go. That was great. Now, what's to prevent root rot since there's no drainage hole?
There is drainage.
There is drainage.
There is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there's drainage source. Oh, okay.
I took an impact hammer and created a hole about 1.5 inches round. And
Hang on. I'm not ahead of you. Hold on. I got to switch. You're ahead of me then. Okay, you've got to reverse the camera. There you go. Oh, cool. You did that with a hammer and chisel?
No, I haven't.
hammer drill. So it's an impact hammer drill. And so I've got a masonry bit, stone bit, and the hammer pounds as well as turns. So it's able to cut through. This is pretty hard stone. So I drilled one test hole through and then enlarged it with smaller holes. Then I took the hammer and chisel and actually widened it enough to where I felt comfortable. There's a fine line of breaking the rock or having enough of a drain hole. But the way the whole bottom sloped, it all drains to that one spot. I much rather have it on the side where the tree drains, because I can always monitor it. I always know that it's working. If I see that it's clogged up, or if I see the soil staying too wet, I can go in there and investigate that, penetrate it. It's got a plastic, just normal bonsai screen in there, the 1/4 inch, and I can go and I can even take it out if I choose to. So that's why. And then if it's going down, you block it up, for instance, with a water table. Water slows it down to where it doesn't drain well. This is going to drain really fast because it's always above the water level, or sand, or whatever, if I use the suey bond. So we're not really sure what we're going to do with it in the end, as far as where we're going to place it. For the immediate time, we'll put it in the shade someplace here and watch it, and just watch for the buds to start popping, make sure the foliage that's on there is not going to dehydrate. If we start seeing any stress, any pouting at all, we'll go in and pull it out of there and pot it in something that's into a bonsai soil, very well draining soil, and revive it. But the whole trick is with any time you do any of this, the big deal in bonsai is aftercare. And so we're going to watch this. We'll put it in shade for a couple weeks. Start seeing it pick up. You'll start seeing little buds popping everywhere. When I see that movement, we're going to start introducing it into sun. Within about a month, it should be out in a good bit of sun. And that way you'll get the growth. You can prune junipers. The root system can be pruned pretty hard compared to the foliage because they're so foliar dominant. So we'll be able to fertilize this by foliar feeding. As far as root rot goes, if I start seeing any bit of stress on it, I'm going to pull it to take care of it. Then I'll put it back in. It's going to go in this. I like the arrangement. So however I decide, if it doesn't work this one time, I'm going to pull it and put it back on this rock, because I think the combination works great together.
Love it. Now, in Northern California, we couldn't, I'm too new to bonsai, but I don't think we could repot this time of year. Is that correct, Kathleen, Renee? I don't know.
I've been told not to. I bought some muck from someone over, I can't think of his name, Matthew. I can't think of his last name.
Matthew Walker.
Yes, thank you. And I said I was going to go home and work with it. And he went, no. So, yeah, I think we have to wait a few months still.
I'm going to back up. And what I should have said in the beginning is this is the trouble with people showing demos, is a lot of times you're pushing the tree too far with the way you prune it. You're pushing it too far when you're out of season. So you got to know your material. Then you've got to know how to take care of it afterwards. This was prepared for this piece today. And so I started, the tree itself was prepared, had been being prepared for quite a while, but this was prepared ahead of time. And the main thing is, after this, I'm going to take care of it. If I was on the road and I did this for a demo and somebody won it, took it home, there could be some issues. But if I was going to do this for a demonstration that was out in the world, I'd want to do it in the spring when the tree's making it easy on you. But right now, see, I have no problem with this because I know the planting method and I prepared for that. The tree, I know how healthy it is, how happy it is, and I know the root system. There was no surprises.
Yeah,
so, is it the best time to do it? Perhaps not, but it's a good time to do it in the sense of in Atlanta we go through we're at 1,000 feet, so we can get quite cold in the wintertime. And then we go through the spring growth, and then about the end of June, we get into the heat of the summer, and these trees start going dormant. About this time of the year, they start waking up, and they're coming out of a second summer dormancy. So we can prune them, we can defoliate, we can do a lot of things. So you're getting 2 growing seasons in our area by taking advantage of that summer dormancy period. So I don't want people running out and buying a rock and getting some muck and a juniper and doing this today or tomorrow, because this was prepared, and then again I'm going to take care of it afterwards, and that's important.
Yeah.
Hope that does.
That was perfect. Can you turn that so it would be turned the way you want the front to be exactly? Is it like that, or is it turned a little, or?
You know, it's one of those things that I will probably play with a little bit on what I like. Again, remember the T-shirt, but it was designed in my mind. I was thinking more of it just a little bit more this way, because the one thing I want to do is not have dead wood hidden. I want to see it. I want to see the character, the way the tree's fighting to live. So I want to see this. And so I'm going to say somewhere in here probably will be the front.
Okay.
But I'm going to.
That's too much.
It's kind of nice being on camera.
I like that right there.
Yeah, that's a good view.
I like that myself.
Well, I'll agree with you until the camera's turned off. You know, I'm really like what you're saying, because then you get this underhang here and there. So this is very nice. But again, you know, it's when somebody's doing a tree the first time, having an absolute front, it's always best to pick a front, mark it, so when you're wiring and everything, you've got that concentration, don't lose it. But then accept the front as a pie shape until you really, really get it where you like it. Spend the time. You know, this is going to adjust a little bit. As this grows, I might adjust the front a little bit. I'm probably going to pull some of these branches up, but I kind of like the way they're hanging down. In our area, it's usually wind. We don't get the snow that does this. Up in the mountains, they used to drive all the cars off the ridges and stuff to get rid of them. And actually, they're bringing cranes in and getting them out because of the value of the old cars. But you know what causes this? It's nature, and you can make the story up, but it's just Mother Nature doing it. You just want to show the drama of the tree and the ability for the tree to correct itself. So there's always apexes. There's always some branch growing back into the way. There's got to be a contrary side to it. You can't have everything going this way. You don't want to see the bottoms of all the branches coming this way. You want to see it fighting to get back into nature.
Rodney, one of the things that I noticed, and it took me years and years to figure this out. In fact, I only just bought this year, is that I bought a spray head for my tree that has 1,000 holes in it. You know, the dram one that has the softer, so that when you have an incline like that and you go to water, you don't lose some of your soil as it, you know, that kind of thing. And I don't know if there's anything that you do special to water this, so that if you, I'm jumping to conclusions, but I'm just thinking that I would be glad I have that new dram water head.
Okay, with this, with all bonsai, I think you have these tools. I mean, you know, we're all using tools that were made for bonsai, and you don't have to. You can use scissors and many different kinds of tools to do the job. They just don't maybe do it as well as a wire cutter like this that you can get in and cut right next to the tree itself. You can do it, but this is a little better. Some of the wire cutters I have, you only use for one. I might use it twice a year to get a piece of wire I can't get with this one that's got a 45-degree angle. This could be watered many, many, many different ways, but until it gets established, you're going to always wash that moss off the muck. And so even with the nozzle that you all know about, I'm going to still go in and investigate the moss. Every time I water it, I'll go in, or it rains heavy, I'll go in and check the moss it takes about 2 or 3 waterings before that moss and the muck bond together really well. Once that happens, it's good to go. But we water, you know, soil's expensive and you don't want to knock it out of your container. And so we use the Masakuni nozzle on the end of our hose. You know, there's different ones, but the little tiny droplets of water are incredible. So one like this, rather than watering straight on, I'll probably turn it up and let the water kind of cascade in and water the back. So it's going to be, initially, it's going to be very important for me to get water up against the rock and let it come down and just make sure I have no holes up under that root plate. But should be no trouble at all. Those Masakuni water nozzles are fantastic. There's a lot of other ones that work nicely. But I like that one, so I've always used it. But, you know, we collect different kinds of nozzles. They all seem to work, but there's nothing better than a Masakuni. One thing I like about it is you can take the rosette off pretty easily and clean it. We get a lot of debris in our water. We've got 3 ways to water county water. We have a well and we have a lake that we can pull out of. So, you know, watering is very, very important. And you people in California know how dependent upon water you are for your bonsai. So
Sure.
we've got ourselves covered, but there's debris, there's sand, there's whatever comes through the city water. There's a lot of things that those little rosettes get really clogged. So if you don't have the ability to take them off, you're going to have to soak them in something like Lime Away or whatever to take care of some of that and blast it out. Any other questions?
I had somebody wanted to know, how do you chip away the stone? You said you might chip away that edge. Can you describe more detail? What tools do you use, or how do you do it?
You know, it's the kind of thing that I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do with it. But you use whatever it takes to do it. And so I've got a lot of different kinds of. I've done a lot of stone carving, so I've got a lot of chisels and stuff, different shaped chisels. And the main thing is not to try to take too much at one time, but just to work it back slowly. But initially what I'm going to do, it's a very fine edge that comes to this spot. And so I'll just get a pair of pliers and go in and grab it and start nipping away at it.
Okay.
This will be the first tool. If I need a chisel, I'll go in and do that.
Okay.
Now from this side, I love the angle of the trunk working with the stone. I
like that.
I like that a lot. So you'll start seeing a lot of little nuances and details. And some of those I'll go, you know, I don't like that one, or I really like that, so I might alter some of it. This piece in here is just a little too open for me. I'm not going to do it now, but I'll start bringing something, whether it pops in here, these pop out all over, but I want a little bit of green right in here. So I'm going to do that. And then
somebody asked about, and guys, y'all are welcome to mute yourself and ask the questions yourself, but he wanted to know more about, you said rock plantings do not need repotting. Can you explain more how they can do that?
It's amazing. You know, those of us that have lots and lots of trees, you know, there's points where you get into maybe not being able to pot all your trees. And so, you know, with us, we've got, we have some paid people that come, and we have, the best way to teach somebody is not through lessons that they're paying for, but having them come work on our trees. They're working on really good trees. They really take care with that, but it's still something I noticed that you didn't want, initially I just didn't want to break up the arrangement. And then I remembered something my teacher told me, is that people overpot their trees, or they're repotting them too often. And he said that that's a hard thing to break the habit of. And he said what he recommends is watching the tree, learning the tree, and repotting as the tree tells you, as it needs it. And so that's what we started doing with our trees. Do they start holding water? Do you start seeing them fail in some way? Are they not growing at all? Different things. So with a rock planting, what I'm looking for is that consistent moisture content. We have to really water these now, but the consistent moisture content, and I'm looking at the growth habits. So if I see that tight growth that's coming out at all the right times, it's not lagging, then I know that it doesn't have to be repotted. And that just went and it went and it went. And you'll see in some of the photographs, there's one planting that has been on the same rock. There's probably 30 plus junipers on it and 20 boxwoods, Kingsville boxwoods on it. It's never been repotted. It's never had any muck added to it. It's got the moss kind of protecting the muck, but now the muck is protected by all the roots just grown together. I thought I was just being lazy, and then I found out through some of the stone planting people in Asia, both in Japan and China, they don't repot either. And so I think what takes place when I pulled one off and saw how intertwined, how much the root system was a matrix, it just dawns on me the roots grow, they get to the rock, they get heated, and they don't compact. I've never seen them where you've got roots in between the system and the stone itself. They're right to the edge, but they're not wrapping it. And so I think it's just sort of self-pruning, but it's amazing, but that's the way a rock planting is. Now, I think the whole deal with it is really a good muck. It's like, bonsai politics on what your soil mix should be. You get a good mix that works for you, stick with it. And this muck recipe is a little different than everybody else's, perhaps. It's what I learned. I've been using it now for 50 years, and it works fantastic. So I've done as much as 45 years ago. I've filled in a spot where I wanted some roots to grow that were in a fork where your eye could see through of the root system. And I filled that with muck, and the roots went in and penetrated that muck and just totally filled it up to where now the muck's gone, but that's a solid root system that's fused together and has, you couldn't tell that it wasn't the trunk of the tree. So it's a different example of how you can use muck, but we've never had to go in and pull any of the muck out of all the rock plantings we've done for failure of the muck for whatever reason. I've never seen root rot in any of it because it will drain very fast, and because of the heating quality, it dries out from that also, evaporates. It will be necessary or really help to have this in a water basin, so you're wicking some water up into this rock and the humidity's there. That will actually help a lot. Plus it looks really good.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So did anybody else have any questions about the planting? Because I don't know if you want to do the elm soon. Rodney, do you want to do the elm tree soon?
Sure.
Okay, but does anybody else have any questions? Oh, somebody asked about fertilizer. What do you do for fertilizer?
We're talking about fertilizing the trees.
Yeah.
Because, anyway, with fertilizer, that's a very good question. And we use organics here because, again, I'm trying to, there's life in the soil. In that muck, there's life. And so you're creating a place where a condominium for all the life that works in between the tree and the soil and the roots. And so that's one of the reasons you don't want root rot and all like that. But so we're fertilizing. The organics goes into that solution really well. It doesn't have the calcium buildup or salt in with it, so that helps. But it burns the moss. And so we use different organic fertilizers, but in the tea bag. And so I would put a tea bag over in this corner and a tea bag on that side back over there. Initially, that'll be about a month from now. And then a month later, I'll put one back in the far back in the center. And, then I'll I'll add more. By the end of the season, it will be almost full of little tea bags. And what happens under each one of those tea bags, the roots will grow into those so strong, but once you pry them off, of course, it'll be dead right up under that. That's just from the fertilizer going down. The reason I use the tea bags is every time you water, it creates a tea that goes down in and fertilizes every day as you're watering. But the fertilizer will burn the moss, so this one won't matter as much as some of the other plantings that the moss is so visible, but it grows right back. So once the bag's off, the fertilizer is stopped from going in, it will grow right back. So, and nice and green. So it doesn't hurt anything. It just kills it at that moment, burns it.
Yeah.
We can use inorganic fertilizers. If we see this tree's not moving fast, but it still looks healthy, I'll get something Miracle-Gro, Peters, like seaweed, all kinds of stuff, and I'll spray the foliage early in the morning, and that will pick it up a good bit.
For the tea bag fertilizer, do you mix your own fertilizer or do you use a commercial?
You know, we have a lot of trees here, and I would like to tell you we hand mix every bag, a little different even, but we don't. I'm using a lot of different fertilizers that whatever we can get. We used to have a wholesaler here, and they sold me for a penny on the dollar just about all their broken bags of fertilizer, and I would just mix them together. And I'm usually using, the fertilizer I'm using is all the numbers are below 10. And the one that we're using right now is Home Depot, Lowe's, Espoma. You can Polytone, Plant Tone. They make a lot of different ones, but they're all very similar. The changes are the bags with marking, I think. But we're using all those pretty nicely. The old fertilizer that I grew up on was cottonseed meal. My theory is it's not as good as it used to be because they've got better at rendering the oil out. But rapeseed, there's so many things you can use. So I'm not stuck on any one. I feed the trees the way I would like to eat, and I love everything. So I'm going to feed multiple fertilizers through the course of the year, and I've pretty much feed year round. I use Epsom salts, which helps a lot, magnesium sulfate. So, you know, if the roots are 40 degrees and above, it's eating something. And so we apply the fertilizer all the time. If the roots are not eating, if either too hot or really too cold, then the fertilizer the trees are not dumb, they're just not going to eat. So the fertilizer, you're wasting it more than anything. But we'll keep fertilizer on these trees most of the time. The only time we don't is after repotting.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question,
Yes.
or an observation, you know, and looking at the composition, I look at it and there's one thing that kind of keeps drawing my eye that I'm not quite satisfied with, and that would be the nabari of the tree. If I look at it, there's it's just kind of a straight line across. It's like I want to get something in there and kind of work it down a little bit so I can maybe see a little bit more of the base.
You're talking about right there.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, what you're seeing there is my thumbprint with muck on it. So, that will change, and right in there, there's a dead root that comes down, and I will clean that off. It'll take a little while because the muck penetrates the wood, so I'll clean it and lime sulfur it again. I meant to do this, but the wood is out in our other potting area, but I've got pieces of some driftwood, and you know, I might even hang a piece of driftwood coming down in some place that looks like either another tree or part of this tree that has died and fallen off. Some of the best driftwood that I've found, of course, it's on a lot of times it's on the seashores and everything, so you have to wash it real well. But man, there were one time in California going up the coast, it was just so strange. You would go from, you know, abalones to stone to driftwood. Man, those driftwood beaches were incredible. That's like when I flew home, it was like I was dumping clothes in the hotels and stuff, and just all my little treasures came home. And put my suitcase of all my stones up, and the guy, security guy, tried to pick it up to look at it. And he goes, "What's in this stone?" I went, "Yeah," and he goes, "You're one of those." So a lot of us travel like that. But you're right. See, that's more of those flat areas. But the tree is better than that. I just thumbed it.
Thank you. I also, just another thing, you know, Dodie, since, you know, it's 3:15,
Right.
I'm thinking probably let's just skip the business meeting for now,
Okay.
because we have so many guests on watching the program. I don't want to take up their time with a business meeting.
Okay.
People want to stick around after it's over, we can do a quick business meeting then, but let's just continue with the program.
That sounds perfect. So any last questions on the bonsai planting, or we're going to move on to the elm tree?
I'm going to rewire one branch, this one here, so I can bend this and place it more up. That's the part that really bothers me.
Oh, there you go. When you have it the other way, before you turned it, I can't point to it. This branch, I don't know if you can see on the computer, if y'all can see the cursor. In this direction, that seems like that needs to go up to me.
This one?
No, right behind that one. There you go, just like that. But maybe that's, what do I know? Yeah. I'm happy.
There's going to be some adjustments. I could see it even going up a little bit more.
Yeah. I like
we'll all have to, you know, that's one of the things that's the beauty of this kind of program, where I can sit back and look at it and just spend my time. And, you know, what's going to take place after the Zoom is I get my Sierra Nevada beer out, kick back, and look at this for the first time. One of the things that we're going to be talking about, I think that's what was mentioned, was the elm tree.
I'm going to shift to that. Is that okay?
Sure.
Can we pull it up? Okay. God, I forgot how to do it. Oh, first of all, we've got this screen up still. What, Rodney, which one was it?
Well, it was, I would say it's number 4.
Yep. That's what I told everybody. That's it. So Renee's going to announce the winner in a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, don't tell me it's not going to work. Why isn't it going? Okay. Here we go.
This is one of the things that I want to talk about with trees. This is a imported Chinese elm. It's very happy and healthy. It came to us in sort of a tree buy. This is the side of it. I think that's the back or the front.
What? That's the front end.
That's the front, yeah. You can see right off the bat, whoever put this in didn't get full benefit of, if it was moved over into the container to my left, it would look a lot more stable and everything. But this is sort of a tree that's been made to look like a bonsai. And that's something I don't really enjoy. The tree should be styled to look like the tree it is, and in nature. So, you know, with an elm tree, they grow in a certain broom style that looks very much like an elm tree. This does not. It looks great. It's happy, healthy. A lot of people would like this as bonsai because it does look like a bonsai. And so, you know, what would we do with this tree? Our choices are we could sell it just as is, and they go quite easily, but I don't like, you know, I'll tell you one way, I'm not going to sell it and go a different direction, but we're going to take and change this tree. There's certain ways you can do it. We'll get multiples of these sometimes that all have that little series of S curves. And if you turn them sideways and lay them down a little bit, they get two-dimensional, and you don't see that. You see the movement back and forth. You can almost stack them into sort of a windswept looking thing, and that looks very natural, really fine, because you're not seeing that S shape. The other way that we do it is we'll lay them over sometimes. Some of these, and this is one that does, most of the branches come out of one side. It's got movement in the trunk, so when you lay it over, you see the negative spaces underneath it and everything, but it makes a very interesting raft style. And that looks a little bit more natural to me. Now, every one of those branches has to be rebuilt out of these pads into more of a natural shape. The way that generally that we go, and it would be turned a little bit. I think there's another slide showing a close-up of the base. One more. There should be another slide. That's the back.
That's the base.
No, there's one of a close-up of the base. There you go.
And on the screen?
Yeah. Okay, that's the base of the tree. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the front. You see that powerful root system that looks like something's forced it out of the way and knocked it over maybe. But there's a series. What I look for, generally I was taught the smaller the tree, the more powerful, usually the better tree. And so even though the tree would be taller, I'm gonna come in, I guess you can't see me on the screen, but
You can change it. I can.
okay, right in there. Can you see that?
Oh, hang on, sorry. There you are. Okay,
That doesn't work. Go back to the way.
go back to this presentation.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm gonna try to do it with a camera on the phone.
okay.
Okay. So
What do you
There we
want me to do?
well, I was gonna point out right here.
Oh, you can annotate. Let me, tell me if I'm getting close.
Okay, I can describe it.
Right there?
I'm just going to describe it. There's two spots that I would look for, and I like the movement in this, but I want to condense it. So right where you've got this one movement that comes up, and then it takes a right, goes up, then, excuse me, it takes a left, then it goes up and takes a right. Well, right at that spot, there's some little globules there. That's the first place I might consider cutting it off, right below that first initial branch. And we cut it off, and what we would do is put a piece of milk carton kind of plastic around it, just a little bit, so the branches come out. Yeah, there you go. Go down just a hair.
Oh.
That's good. Looks like it's when I wear my devil horns, but
Like
but
that?
anyway, right through there, right at the base of that is where we would initially cut it off. We would put, now I'm going to air layer the top, but we're going to take it off at that point and get sprouts coming out all the way around. And we'll grow that into a broom style. And, you know, 4 years down the road, the journey is the fun part. 4 years down the road, it'll be a much better tree and look like an elm tree. It could be a broom style where it's been wind influenced and goes one direction the way the roots are going. That way it's more powerful. It's showing you the drama of it. It could also be cut off right above that branch, above the arrow, and just leaving a little bit of that branch and grow the whole top. There's a little bit of a branch right where the arrow is there. Perfect. And we could grow a new start to the apex right there. Then each one of these curves are gonna pop out. So we could make a little small tree, show him Mame, that would look very nice, condensed and everything. But I want to bring the eye down to these roots, and they're not really seen with that snaky, with the cloud foliage on it. So that's it's a hard thing to do, but my teacher told me you don't prune deciduous trees like a juniper or pine tree. And I think back in the day, we were all taught sort of a pine tree juniper style on all our pruning, and it still shows. It's hard to get them out of it. It takes sometimes radical changes, but it's always looks more like the tree when you style it to look the style that, or the type of styles that the tree grows in. So this informal, upright, snaky S-shaped with pads, I don't see trees growing like that. So I want to change this one. So that's my rant.
Excellent. So continued.
Yes.
All right.
This is a tree that's one of my favorites.
Hang on. Sorry. Hang on. Sorry about that. I gotta go back.
Oh, that tree is one of my favorites. That tree is also one of my favorites.
I know. I've got to get the arrows off. Sorry. This is called learning curve. How do I do this? Oh.
Yeah, they don't bother
You
me.
go to eraser on the annotation. Go back to
Clear.
this.
I know. Clear all my drawings, but now I got to go back. Sorry, guys. User error.
Yeah, that's one of the beauties of Zoom is we're all learning.
We are definitely learning. Sorry. I will get it. There we go.
Are we back?
We're back. Sorry.
Okay. This is a tree that it's one of my passion trees. I grew up in, my family's from Florida, and we grew up in sort of the ball cypress swamp forest, which is one of the most beautiful areas in the world. And this tree came from the Everglades, which is a river. And this is an old tree. It's pond cypress, not really ball cypress. And this is an old tree. It's probably hundreds of years old. Grows in part of the Everglades. That's a dwarf tree area. I've got one of the tallest ones I found, and it's about 7 feet tall. This is 5 feet. It's a very old tree. It's large. And so this is 5 feet. This base is, right at a foot. And it's a heavy tree because it's got the wood in it. This was collected in 1975 and put instantly in a bonsai pot. And it's grown into this natural shape. This is how the tree grew. So it wasn't really altered that much. That bend that's in it, that flat area where many monkeys can sit, that was what the tree did. And so, I'm not going to violate that. This tree's at a public collection here in Atlanta. And it's one that I helped somebody dig that had a broken ankle. And but I wanted this tree ever since then. I've never been able to get it, but at least I get to work on it as part of being the curator of the collection it's in now. We call this the patriarch of the collection. It looks over everybody.
Move on?
Yes.
Okay.
This is one of the trees that taught me bonsai. And this kind of a grove is outside of the family home. And this is what looks like live oaks to me. It's an old, this was probably right at 100 years old. This is one of the original cuttings I was lucky enough to get. So all ours are grown from this plant and one other one. It's a wonderful tree. You can't really see. This was shot either the year before or during the national exhibition up in Rochester. And what you're not seeing is to get into show readiness, I pruned on this for about 2 weeks. And what I'm talking about pruning or taking leaves off, I filled 2 5-gallon buckets up with leaves. This is about 48 inches long. And so you're editing. And what I love about these, got an 8-year-old student that does this all the time. She lays down and looks up through the tree to embrace the tree. And being able to see all the negative spaces through all the leaves is fantastic. They should be lit from below, so you see that. But it's a wonderful tree, but again, it reminds me of my childhood. Next one. This is another pond cypress. This is another old tree, and this is during a show where it's been exhibited. I wish you could see the accessory plant or piece, but it's a part of a bog with an alligator in it. But anyway, this is not growing. You know, this is one that they always say, you know, cypress don't grow like that, but this was collected. It grew like that. It was growing in a really old stump of another tree that had died hundreds and hundreds of years before. So this is part of the character nature. This was dug, and I just didn't violate what the tree already offered. This root back behind that really makes part of that. That's a piece of driftwood from California. So you're representing here the tip of Florida and the north coast of California. So it's a lot of bonsai's fun, and we all should just be having a good time.
Yeah.
Okay, next. This is a tree that went to the Pacific Bonsai Museum. It's one that came out of Texas. It's a winged elm, and this is showing you just really the broom style of an elm. And if you can see, all the branches almost all come out going up and then start hanging down with weight. And the big deal with a mature deciduous tree is on the outside rim of the branches, those little bitty branches should be hanging down. That looks so natural. The apex of this is right at having to be redone. They're so strong apically that they always dominate. It's very hard to keep that fine little growth up at the top. So you add it pretty hard every so often. This one needed it. But it's a really fine tree. It was kind of tough to see it go, but you know, it felt good to go out and be part of a museum. So, next one. This is a rock planting, same stone. This is the same lava stone. It's much, much bigger. This one takes one of those hydraulic carts with two people to slide it on the cart to get it down to move it. And so it probably weighs about 400 pounds. Shimpaku, I wish this has not been worked this year yet, but it looks a lot more dramatic when it's worked. It's got a lot of dead wood on those two trunks. But this one is a combination. There's a little bit of a sort of a fern, Selaginella growing down below. And then the top canopy is a type of Azalea rucosan that looks like just a mountain laurel grove. Lots of little twisted trunks working together. But it's a fun piece. That stone looks like that early Dasu pot from Dave Logan. That's what those pots are all about. It's a great stone.
Cool.
Okay, this is a tree that actually submitted for the Ben Oki Award in 1985, and this is another hornbeam forest, and it was grown into a deciduous style. This is early on. These are trees that some of the best bonsai experts, I'll put it that way, are beavers. These were all beaver.
Oh.
Isn't that nice?
Wow.
Every time it went up, the beavers cut it back. So all the wood, all the scars on the wood, I always have to tell people, that was not my pruning. Those are they're slowly disappearing, which I hate. And so I might get back in there and sharpen my front teeth and put some more scars in. But the next slide is, this is a tree just a few years ago. The front used to be the back, and what's been developed that you can't really see the difference too much is a lot more twigging. That's age. That's what, you know, I was taught, build your tree first, make those design decisions, find the line, do it, then build age. So don't keep reinventing the wheel, keep going back to line, invent, have the age come out. And as you can see, the painting in the background, the branches actually overhang that, so they become part of the painting. But that's the tree just, 30 years later.
Jeez, gosh.
It's much bigger. What that doesn't show you is this tree takes 2 people to move it. A lot of that is just the way the branches overhang. It's hard to get up to. The other tree was in a much smaller container. And I could pick it up and move it quite easily. In fact, I put it in a vehicle to have that photograph taken elsewhere. This one I could not do, this big. Okay, next.
All righty, I'm having technical difficulties. My program seems to have frozen. So my suggestion is, Renee, I'm gonna have to reset this. And if Renee can, maybe I can do maybe I can do it. Let me get it and see if I can get it. Bear with me. I'm learning. Nope, I still got I don't think it's gonna, nope. I'm gonna have to close it down. So Renee, if you can pop in and you can do the announcements of the winner. I hope Renee can hear me. Renee, can you hear me?
Mute.
You're on mute. Okay.
I'm unmuted.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. I didn't realize I'd muted myself. Okay, well, we have number 4 was the correct answer, and we have 7 people that guessed number 4. So what I did is I put all of their names. I made a little raffle thing here with everybody's name that had a number 4, and I'm going to read off the names just to let you know that hopefully I got everybody. We had Paul, Annette, Charlene, Diane, Maria, Brian, and R. Brown that all guessed number 4. So I put their names in this bucket and I'm going to draw the name, and that will be the winner.
Could I have all their names so I could have them as apprentices? Because they think.
Sure, I'll send them to you.
Yeah. They look like good.
They passed the part of the entrance exam, huh?
Yeah. Flying colors.
Okay, well, let's see. Who do we have here? We have Charlene.
Oh, Darlene, yay.
I'll come back. There I am.
There she is. Okay, we need to get information from you so we can give it to Rodney so you guys can get together and you can have your consultation.
Wonderful. I'm honored.
Okay.
Right. It'll be a lot of fun.
So what, Charlene,
Mhm.
in the chat section, can you just put your email address?
Okay.
And that way we can send that to Rodney.
And I think I've got it going again whenever, if we're ready to shift back. Is that okay?
Well,
Renee, I'm going to shift back,
Okay.
I think. Let's hope. All right. The fickle finger of fate here. Okay. 16.
I'll back up. We'll talk about that one in a second.
Oh, but do you want me to go back to that page? I can.
You don't have to.
No? Okay. Well, this is a short video and you can talk while it's playing.
Okay.
If you wish.
This is the planting I was telling you about, where it's got about 30 plus junipers on it. And what you can't see really are boxwoods because they were just pruned. This goes back to another video. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
So this is 5 feet 8 inches long. It's ironstone, very, very, very heavy. And so it stays up on the bench and gets spun, once a month. Takes 2 people to spin it. Luckily, it's got a point that you can spin on it. But this reminds me of home with out on the sand dunes, with the junipers being sand pines and the boxwoods being live oaks or magnolias. But you can see some of the trees hang out over the water. The beauty of something like this is you can kind of design it to a tree or planting that you've seen before, but artist prerogative. You can change it all up, put it on a stone, but it's got little basins in it where you've got little hot tubs for small people. But this one has been pruned, but it has not been wired this year.
I'm sorry.
With the pandemic and the virus, it's hard to get people to come over and wire your tree for you. It's a great teaching tool, having to wire that many trees that tight. This is to your very far right. That's a ginkgo that's called a tortoiseback. It's got a big base up underneath the ground, and it pops out. It's got the chichis, the old growth that comes out. It's very nice, very small leaf. And that's done sort of a natural style. They grow here very nicely, but they're always in that kind of flame shape. The tree to the left, the trident maple, that's just after, this is the first year it's been out of the ground. And so it's grown a nice fluted trunk, and now we're just developing the top. And it's gonna be a wild one. It does not have your classic 1, 2, 3 back branches and all that stuff. It's got some incredible branches that I could shoot pictures of in the wintertime. It's going to be a monster. We enjoy that. Then this photograph here, this part of the photograph, that's basically a swamp scene. Those are all ball cypress, many different sizes. This is right after a rain, so you can see the sunlight and the smoke coming off the trees. But this is just like where I grew up. I can get small, walk through this and smell the swamp, which is a wonderful place. People think of swamps as stagnant water. It's highly oxygenated water. So it's a lot of fun. The trees do well there. But this is a fun piece. And this is an oval. This is probably 5 or 6 feet long. I guess 5 feet. And so what's the front of this? Both long sides, what you're seeing right now would be a front to somebody, but the other side, just a different look. And it's very nice. And the ends, Yuji Yoshimura showed me that the end of a oval pot could be the front. Man, you're talking about the depth of that arrangement. It just looks like it goes forever. So don't hesitate to kind of change up on how you pot your trees. These ovals, it doesn't have to be a front the wide way. It can be the end. Some great forests are done that way. The perspective, say you have really big trees in the front, in the foreground, and in the very back, your trees where they might be 3 feet in the front, they might be 3 inches in the back. Gives a great case of depth to it. So goes a little further. That's a Wisteria. That's a sizable tree. When it flowers, it has hundreds of flowers, and they're dark purple. It's a beauty. But, in Atlanta, we get a lot of freezes and frost in the spring, and we get about 1 out of every 3 years we get to enjoy it. It blooms heavily every year, or would.
Oh, wait, sorry. God, there's your wisteria.
Yes, that's a close-up of the trunk and everything. There's always a negative to the good, and you get to enjoy all those flowers for, a week, 2 weeks tops, and then for the rest of the summer, you're looking for the little bean pods so that squirrels and birds don't carry them out and plant them out in the woods around you. So we're always having to look for all the little beans hanging down. But it's part of the fun. This tree's grown for the flowers, so most of the other time of year it's a weed. So we let it grow like a weed, then we edit in the fall to get the flowers where they're visible.
Here's another video.
This is a planting we call the Mantelpiece, because that stone's sold as a mantle. It's 2 feet by 7 feet, and those are 2 different arrangements that were put together on that. and they've since connected over time. But that piece has been together since about 1990, as far as those trees together. It's never been repotted, and you can see that's just sitting on that flat stone. To turn it, I can just pop it off that stone and we can spin it and look at the other side, and so it's always being turned. But it's a wonderful piece. The rock planting that I showed earlier, I didn't tell you, but that was the one that had been on that rock since 1985.
Wow. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Got the next
Okay.
one.
As you can see, I like trees that have a little bit of tension. This is from a display where it's sort of avant-garde. I don't know if you see the accessory plant, but that's about 3 feet long, and it's a very thin stone. We call it the snake. And it's just got a moss planting that looks like the Appalachian Mountains, the ridge of the Appalachians. That tree is one of our native trees. It's a Virginia pine, and it's a two-growth pine. And let me tell you, most people will argue with me that it's a black pine, but it's a two-growth pine. They're twisted needles is one way you can tell. But it's two-growth. You do all the same things. You can candle prune early in the summer, and it puts out that second growth. But, wonderful tree. This is has always been the back, but I just like the way it worked with the stone better this way. So,
Rodney, we had a question, and the question was, what month is that? I'm assuming is the blooming of the wisteria. When does it bloom in your area?
it blooms, every year is a little different, but I'm going to say March would be the time. It might be very early in March or very late in March. Back in the day, we used to pot 1st of April, and now we start at 1st of the year. So things are changing, but that tree might every once in a while the buds will move on the flowers in February. And our cold weather, we've had, at the end of April, we've had 20 degrees and for several nights. And so things get burned. Our hardest part in the Atlanta area is that spike of temperatures going up and down. And so later on, you'll see we overprotect in the winter so we can control that.
Yeah.
So that's the ginkgo with no leaves on it. And this is the only tree I've grown from seed. And it's a great fruit. Very proud of it. You don't really see the root system the way it is. It's been repotted, and it's changed a little bit. But that's my one tree from seed, and it was a challenge from a lady I know that pulled it out of her breakfast and said, "Here, make a bonsai out of this." Well, 40 years later, look at it. It's a lot of fun. Just a little Zelkova, but see, this is deciduous style. It's a little bit of a broom. This is Atlanta potter, Eli Akins, and makes good pots. And so this pot looks really good for a winter silhouette and good roots.
It's beautiful.
That's a small tree. This also is somewhat small. This is my wife's Charlie's, and this is a little Satsuki azalea, Chinzan, and that's his toothbrush. It brushes its pot every night before it goes to bed. But the beauty of that tree is we have to use Vaseline on the inside of the pot when we repot to get the tree back in. Those roots go all the way to the inside edge of the pot, and it looks great. This tree, there's a whole thing about azaleas I don't want to get into right now, but this is cut back fairly hard every few years. In the Atlanta area, we're in the azalea belt. They grow fantastic here, but as far as bonsai goes, we let them flower every 7 years, every 10 years. And the only reason is to remember what variety they are, what the flower looks like. You just get so much more growth. Flowers are only on there for a week or two.
Okay.
This is a garden at the monastery of the Holy Spirit. And the Father Paul, one of the monks that came there in the 50s, got started with bonsai. And he had the first bonsai Kingsville in America. Henry Holman gave it to him. But this is part of their museum. There's 9 trees on display at all times. And they're rotated, but they've got a nice collection. They look real good. Over on the far left side,
Sorry.
highlighted against the wall, is another elm. You can stay where you are.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. But that elm, again, is pruned into an elm style. This is a Chinese quince, and it flowers very heavily every year. And about the time the fruit starts looking really good, a squirrel will take a bite out of the front of the fruit. And it's one of the reasons I'm sure they're falsely added to the plant for shows. But it's a nice one. Another one that the top gets so dominant, you collect it and build little mames from a beautiful top.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I lost my cursor. Where is it? I don't know. Oh, where's my cursor?
We can, if there are any questions.
Oh,
So,
no,
There you
you're
are.
not spotlighted. Okay.
Hey, Dodie.
Yeah. So, I can try again. You want me to do the screen share again? I've got my cursor back. I'm going to. Okay, right. No, I'm not muted.
there's Kitty.
Hi. This is fun.
This
Depends upon what side of the computer you're on.
Hey, it's fun for me.
I can't do it. I don't understand. I
Do
lost
you
my,
want us to try and see if we can share something from our screens?
yeah, get out of, yeah. Renee, you may need to cut me off again. I
cut
don't,
you off again. Okay, let me cut you off again.
I lose, but I want to show the last slide.
Maybe. I guess we're not going to do that, are we?
No, I
Hey,
think
Dodie, another option is to force shut down PowerPoint and start it back up again by Control-Alt-Delete. Won't take
Yeah, I've done
the
that
cursor to
one,
do it.
but I'll try that again. Okay. I'm forcing the, thank you, Alice. This is a learning process.
Pull it back up again if you wish. Sure.
Oh, crap. Okay. Renee, well, let's see if anybody else has questions. Can you take, do you know how, what is happening?
I'm still host if that's what you're.
Why don't you spotlight Rodney and we'll ask questions while I get my end together.
Okay. Let me find Rodney.
I know, it's alphabetical.
Is it alphabetical? Is that what it is?
so I could disappear and you wouldn't know where I was.
There you go.
Where is he?
Oh, well, he's talking. Keep talking. So anybody, the viewers, if you all have questions or trees that you want to share,
There he is.
and ask Rodney for his feedback, this is the time to do it, and then we'll go back. And
So does anyone have questions for Rodney? Do they have trees they have questions or want to ask questions? We'll do that part first, and then if we just have some like show and tell things that we want to share, we can do that. So
Sure.
we'll take questions first. No questions?
I'll try and show something if I can try and get it up on my screen here for the heck of it. Let me see if I can share screen and ask a question. No, when I go to share screen, I'm not seeing my own screen.
You can put that on the desktop.
If you have your picture and you have it in your desktop, when you hit share screen, it should be in the white
It
box.
should be, but for some reason, and it normally is, I think
Yeah.
I'm seeing maybe your screen, Dodie.
Hey, Rodney, what's in that glass? Do we want to know? Okay.
Well, I can share. I have since Rodney is the Kingsville boxwood guru of this country, I have to share my little Kingsville boxwood. It's one of my favorite trees. And I just want to share it quickly. It's just a little video that I did. Hold on. So this is my little Kingsville.
Uh-huh. It's
You know,
nice.
It's just one of my favorite trees.
You know, one thing I'm going to say about this tree, what I like about it, is everybody concentrates on the positive space where the growth is, the foliage and everything. The negative space is probably the most important of the two spaces. It's got great negative space. So you can kind of see in, but you can't see the whole line of the trunk, which is kind of nice. Helps with the imagination.
Okay,
Very nice.
that's it. So let's see, stop share.
How white are the trunks? It looks like it had a little bark on it.
It has quite a lot of bark on it. It's kind of, normally if I put it in a show, I clean it up so you can see it. I didn't have a chance to prep it at all. I just kind of took it off the bench. And it gets a lot of that kind of, I guess it's algae or stuff that kind of grows on it, and it kind of messes up the look of the bark. Normally I clean it, but I didn't have a chance.
Yeah, you know, we use that little pressure washer, and you can clean it with alcohol, a little bit of lime sulfur maybe. But yeah, it stains it. So, you know, it's best to clean it every so often. Once it gets on there and the algae dies, it will stain the tree a lot.
Yeah. So Kathleen, did you get yours figured out there?
No, Renee, for some reason, now normally I can do this pretty effortlessly, but it's not showing me my screen when I hit share screen. It's somebody else's screen.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. It's showing a desktop, a whiteboard, an iPad AirPlay thing, and an iPhone via cable. And none of that is, I mean, and I have a tree up and ready to show. So, but it's not.
But what if you click on desktop? Can you?
Desktop is not an option. It's showing me, it's,
How bizarre.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I'm showing you my screen now?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
time view.
Well, huh.
Ah.
That isn't the tree I wanted to show you, but there's a tree. I had a bald cypress up to show you. Oh, here, I think it is. Let's try that. This is an oak that I worked on the other day, just getting it kind of.
It's nice.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, here's this.
Yay.
This bald cypress that was styled because we didn't have bald cypress here, and it's oftentimes is even hard to tell if something here is a bald cypress or a redwood. So it was styled in more of a redwood look. And I don't know if, hey, at this point you just let it be, or if you would try and do something different with it.
You know, I know I would do something different with it, but that's kind of up to you in a sense. But you know, they don't grow like this. So it's a deciduous tree, even though it's a conifer, and the branches normally go upright, and then they usually have a flat top rather than that sort of triangular shaped pointed top. Sometimes when they're very young, they might have that, but the trunk would be not near so thick. And so, you know, basically if we got one of these into the nursery like the Elm came in, I would would pretty much really look at this tree, and first thing I would do is remove the outer bark to where I get down to that cinnamon color cambium area and just investigate it, because it might have some dead end places is going to influence the style of this tree. Every ball cypress been collected has this hollow inside. They rot and go hollow. So you can use that as part of the story. Even the ones in the swamps do that as they age. But it's generally a hollow tree. So you're finding, does it expose any of that and add to that? But more than likely, I'm going to take most of these branches off and redesign this tree just using the structure to get it back into that ball cypress flat top look. And they're very sparse. They have most of their canopy is up at the top. Rather than the triangle shape that you have, the flat top is more inverted. The flat part of the triangle is up on the very top and the small parts facing down.
Okay.
So you might have a little serendipity branch here and there on the bottom part, but most of the foliage is pretty much up at the top.
That branch that's parallel to this is going up right here.
But that's a nice tree to work with. It's got movement in the trunk, kind of undulation going back and forth. It's not a straight one that looks like it was just totally chopped off, although when it was collected, it probably, those usually that size they're probably about 15, 20 feet tall. And so they're cut back to that toward. But they pop out everywhere, so you can rebuild them quite easily.
I was thinking that this area right here, where it's got that maybe taking a drill and drilling that out might be good, because it kind of pops out now instead.
Well, it doesn't look natural. It looks like it was cut off. And so I'll guarantee you that tree has a better story in the same piece.
Kathleen Bark asked how tall the tree was.
Well, I'd say it's at least 3 feet tall.
I was going to guess 3 to 3.5 feet.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Oh, that's a mica pot it's in?
No.
No, it's not?
No.
Okay. That spoils that part of it. But anyway, you can take that and kind of penetrate it with something, say an ice pick, and just see how hard that wood is. If it's soft enough, and most of them are, I would get one of those little spot spray guns and just get really close to it, and you could eat out all the softwood, leaving the harder stuff, and it would look really, really natural. But that tree's hollow. It's going to go hollow. And so make that scar in a way look bigger, but it's dead up above it too, more than likely.
What kind of spray gun are you referring to?
It's a little bitty, I'll send you a photograph of it.
Okay.
But it's just a little bit, it's it looks like this, but it's much smaller. And it's got a nozzle but a reservoir like this, and it's electric, and it's for cleaning. It's a dry cleaning gun. The one we use is by Arrow, like bow and arrow, and I think they're $60, but it's the best $60 you could spend in bonsai. You can the boxwood that you were talking about cleaning the trunk and everything, you can take a toothbrush and water and stuff and take an hour to clean it or more. With that gun, you can clean in minutes. It's just incredible. But at 3 feet of distance, it's just a mist. And the closer you get, all of a sudden there's a center core that has got some strength to it. It'll feel like a laser if you hit your hand with it. But you can get really close. So I could put it within inches of that ball cypress and just eat the wood out, and it eats it naturally. If you go in to carve that with die grinders and Dremels and all that, you're sort of putting yourself on the design of the dead wood. rather than exposing what the tree really has naturally in it. So if you just wash the softwood out, leaving the hardwood, it's going to look like you did a great job carving it. So those little guns are incredible, and they're for dry cleaning. So don't read the directions on what you're not supposed to do with them. Put water in them, and if I drop one and break the nozzle, I save the reservoir, so I can just keep changing reservoirs when I've got my mojo working on it. But they're fantastic for carving. I wash juniper bark off. There's just so many uses for them. You can take some of the stains and minerals off your pots with it. Be careful, but it's amazing what you can use them for.
Yes, that might be good. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Somebody else?
Diane, were you able to get your pictures? I think she had.
Yeah, I tried several different ways and I can't. So I'm going to give up. Thank you, though. I've learned a lot.
Sorry.
Back to the question on what's in this, I get my water brought down from Banff, and it's always glacier.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice.
It's water. I drink water all day long.
I maybe have the screen that I can show again, but does anybody else have trees they want to share? Or questions, just regular questions about your own trees without pictures?
I'm going to go back to ball cypress. Just one thing to look for. If the foliage starts bronzing in the summertime, you easily could have a what's commonly called a root mealybug. And they get into the root system and really just take a lot of the energy out. So the leaves start bronzing on you. So just when you repot, watch for that. If the mycorrhiza is on old roots, then it's mycorrhiza. If it's on the young tender roots, it's a root mealybug and will have to be dealt with.
Well, how about if I'm going to go back to try the slideshow again, finish those. And just to let everybody know that this is going to be posted on our website, but there's going to be an address that you can get from the posting on the website or from the last slide I'm going to show. It's some wonderful pictures of the Smith and Gilbert bonsai collection. And so just be ready if you want to write that down. So let's see what happens. Hey. I have a cursor. I never realized how much I liked it. But now I don't have a picture. Do you see anything? I'm just impatient. Okay, let me get back. Oh, did you want to talk about that one?
Well, I just wanted, there's a whole story here, but I'm not going to get into that. These are two types of Kingsvilles, and one's a sport. Kingsville is a mutation. It's a sport. And they're not stable. And so the larger one in the center is a sport that grows a little faster. And we used it just to get a bigger tree. There's one right under it to the left side. You can just see, it looks like a branch right there. Yes. That tree is twice as old as the larger one. And so it's just another sport that just really, really is nice and small. But this is I did this to look like the live oaks in Florida. Then artist prerogative, I included boulders and a little gravel beach. And so, you're playing, you're kind of doing stuff you've seen before or combining them. When I went to Canada one time, I chose not to collect anything there, being a nice guy. But I brought back the memory, and so I've styled a lot of forests like I saw with the straight formal uprights tight together, the little junipers that grew on the ground, the willow trees. So collect with your eyes.
Okay, I have a question. It's a different question here, asking what makes a cork bark black pine different from other pines?
The cork. Besides that,
That's about it, huh?
well, the cork bark, I mean, you know, that was some type of mutation. The Japanese, given those guys the credit for it, they're incredible hybridizers. And so my theory is, and I don't know this for sure, that there was a sport that they found that was very corky, or a certain seedling that was very corky. And if you notice, they're all grafted. And some people do some of the take seeds from the cork bark, but they're a little different usually. They're not quite as corky as some of them. They're not as hardy for us here, so we have to protect them a little different in the wintertime. We don't prune them as hard, so we're not doing all the candle pruning every year we would on just a straight black. I'm very picky with them, so I like a very low graft as far as the grafting goes. So there's tricks to that, adding bark to the space or raising the soil level up. But it's just not quite as hardy, but my goodness, you can do a lot with them. They sell nicely, so we like them a lot. They're weaker. The hardest thing, two jokes with it, but one was somebody I know picked all the bark off so that they could wire the tree. Well, the bark never grew back. And if you've ever hit one, the bark might be 3 inches wide, and what's feeding that, the cambium, is pencil size. But this is one of our native beeches, has a very white bark, like some of the European or the Japanese beech does. Tiny leaf because of growing in a pot for so long. But again, this is pruned more like a deciduous tree like we grow. And so it's got a hollow trunk. You can see the top of it. But that's a few days after repotting. I was showing the new pot to the artist that made the pot. Love the pot. So
Pretty.
This is a pretty cool tree. This came off our property up in Tennessee. It's a hornbeam. This is about 2 years into its life. And when we collected it, it was about 20, 30 feet tall. And this was at the base. And so my wife and I collected it. She found it. I didn't believe that it had a heart in it, but she told me it did. I saw a photograph and we ran up to collect it. We collected it on Valentine's Day, and we put it in a red pot. But it's just now show ready, and it is awesome. It kind of reminds me of a raft style, because what we've done with the branches, each one of them could be a little tree. So it gives you the illusion like maybe part of that heart is just the ground that these trees are growing out of. But it's nice. It's a big tree, and so that's because of the pot not being able to grab the lips too easily. It's a 2-person tree.
Wow.
This is Bill Valavanis's tree, and I was hungry. That guy's mean. I mean, you wouldn't believe he didn't take this as a compliment. But no, it was great. This was only me playing. I did not eat the quince, although they taste great. But so this is how we protect our trees in the wintertime. The ones that need some protection, you know, the pines, some of the junipers don't need to be protected like this. But it's a greenhouse that if I could air condition it, I would. We can roll the sides up. We've got fans all during it, but it's got shade cloth on it we can remove. And we do this mainly for the spring because we can repot and then keep it from freezing. They're up to the level we can work on them all year. And the beauty is we put them in there sort of the end of November. And for 5 months out of the year, they're clean. They don't get any debris on them. So that's a lot of fun too. But this is how we protect. And it's from one bad winter that I had in 1982.
Mm-hmm. And this is the slide I was mentioning. I highly encourage you to look at the photos on this HGTV site. They are amazing, just amazing. And Rodney's website. And,
Yeah, the top photograph is here at the nursery. The middle photograph is it's a lace bark Chinese elm that's at the collection at the Smith Gilbert. And the bottom tree is the very top of Father Paul's Kingsville that's out at the monastery.
yeah.
And the monastery, I mean, used to be a huge place to get bonsai pots, soil, tools, and all, but because of the pandemic, they've shut down, and we're not sure if they'll open back up. So,
So I was going to try to highlight and save that, but I'll be posting this whole presentation on the website. So I'm going to go back to you, Rodney.
okay.
Maybe, no, I'm not. I can't. Renee stepped out of the room. Hurry up.
Excuse me, I'm back.
Can you highlight Rodney, please?
Let's, do you want me to
just
stop
highlight
here?
it. He's there. He's wonderful. He's there. So,
I had to put eye drops in.
yeah. So this has been wonderful, Rodney.
Well, thanks everybody.
Excellent, excellent. Does anybody else have any questions about anything Rodney said or shared or your own trees?
You know, bonsais should be shared. There's no secrets that should be kept in bonsai. So if you do have questions, there are ways to get in touch with me and do so.
Yeah.
Happy to answer them. Sharing questions, you know, I might learn something myself. You know, you pay attention, you're learning all the time. You quit learning, you're dead. So ask questions at any point you think of something, get in touch.
If I could just make a little short statement. This is Kathleen, and I had the pleasure of going to Brussels Nursery where I saw Rodney teaching classes. And I was so impressed with him that I got his information. So because I wanted you all to have the opportunity to meet him. He had such an engaging way with his students. They were, you know, some of them had been pretty new to bonsai they're working on making these plantings, and he gave them comfort so that they felt more empowered, and I could see that they were trusting and having fun, and it was delightful. So I would encourage any of you who might want to give him a call and try having your own little Zoom session with him for, you know, I don't know what your fee is for the certain amount, but those of you who might have been jealous and wished you'd have won the prize, it is something that that's pretty affordable that you could do for yourself, to give yourself something as a treat while you're locked in at home.
Yeah. It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful working
Thanks.
with you. I think, Renee, are we going to do basically for members a short business meeting at the end?
Yeah, we could, as soon as we're done and, you know.
Just stay on the Zoom, but Rodney can go drink his so-called water.
Actually, now I'm going to go for a Sierra Nevada IPA.
There you go. Well,
Just because of you guys in California.
Okay.
thank you.
Hey, listen, this has been fun. I've had a blast, and I'm going to change a little bit of what we see here, but not much. And so I like the shape of it and everything. I'm just going to make sure that it's stable and all. But thanks. And again, I've had a lot of help with this, and I've become very comfortable with the Zoom process, thanks to your club, and Kathleen Doty and Renee have been very, very helpful. So I still expect a t-shirt. I'm sure that's coming.
It might be a year.
I'm patient. I'm very patient. Love the hat. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, Rodney. It was fabulous, fabulous.
Yes, thank you.
Someone-
Thank you.
Enjoy your beer.
Oh, I will.
Take care. Okay.
Okay, so for those of you who are not in our club, you don't have to stick around. I'm going to have just a quick business meeting. We don't really have a lot to go over, but just for our members,